It started as a moment no one expected, a spark that lit a wildfire across social media, talk shows, and dinner tables alike, during what was supposed to be a calm, policy-centered discussion on education reform. First Lady Jill Biden and former Florida Attorney General Bondi found themselves locked in a verbal exchange that would soon become one of the most talked-about confrontations of the year. What began with smiles and soft tones soon erupted into something deeper, a battle not just of intellect, but of principle, pride, and heart. The event took place at a televised roundtable in Washington, D.C., where women leaders from across the nation gathered to discuss the future of education in America. Cameras rolled, audiences tuned in, and the air crackled with tension even before the words were said. Jill Biden, known for her lifelong dedication to teaching, spoke passionately about the importance of emotional intelligence and compassion in leadership. Bondi, sharp and unapologetically direct, countered with her belief in measurable merit and hard data. The room shifted as the tone turned from polite debate to personal challenge. Then came the moment that set the internet ablaze. Leaning slightly forward, Dr. Biden smiled and said, "If it's all about numbers, Pam, perhaps we should settle this with an IQ test." The audience gasped as some laughed, others murmured. It was half in jest, half in earnest. Bondi's eyes narrowed, her lips tightening into a calm but confident smile. "Be careful what you wish for," she said. 36 seconds later, Bondi reached into her briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope. "I didn't come here to play games," she said, her voice steady but sharp. "I came prepared for truth." The room fell silent as she broke the seal and unfolded a letter, a document she said she'd carried for years. A reminder of something that grounded her. It wasn't test results, it wasn't statistics, it was a letter from her late mother, written before she passed, reminding Pam that wisdom isn't about knowing everything, it's about knowing who you are and what you stand for when everything else fades. As she read the words aloud, her voice cracked, trembling between strength and emotion. The crowd that had moments ago buzzed with anticipation now sat in complete silence. Jill Biden's expression softened. The First Lady, herself a mother, an educator, and someone who had faced loss and criticism, nodded slowly, her eyes reflecting empathy rather than rivalry. It was no longer a contest. It was a conversation between two women who had fought, in different ways, to be heard in a world that often speaks over women's voices. The tension melted into something more profound. Jill Biden spoke next, quietly but firmly. "Then maybe," she said, "the real test isn't of IQ, but of understanding." The audience erupted in applause, not for a winner, but for the moment of unity that had emerged from confrontation. It was no longer about who was smarter, it was about who was brave enough to listen. Over the following days, clips of the exchange flooded social media. Some celebrated Bondi's poisoned vulnerability, others praised Jill Biden's humility and grace in acknowledging a deeper truth. But regardless of sides, everyone agreed that was a rare and powerful moment in public discourse. Two women, standing tall in their convictions, reminded the nation that intellect without empathy is hollow, and empathy without courage is incomplete. As time passed, that night became less about conflict and more about connection. Teachers used it as an example in classrooms. Commentators called it the debate that healed instead of divided. Even months later, when asked about it in an interview, Jill Biden smiled softly and said, "Sometimes, the smartest thing we can do is let our hearts lead the way." And Bondi, when asked how she felt about the viral exchange, responded simply, "That letter wasn't meant to crush anyone, and was meant to remind us all why we fight for what we believe in. Intelligence is power, yes, but compassion, that's legacy." By the end, what began as a challenge became a testament to something larger, that strength and softness can coexist, that disagreement doesn't have to mean disrespect, and that even in the heat of conflict, there's room for grace. It was more than a headline. It was a lesson, one that left millions thinking long after the cameras stopped trolling.